It's Fredo, and I'm bringing you a draft analysis of the Welsheons in the Mudkip division of CMM Season 5, hosted by Muffins. After a successful run in UNPL Full Brawl where we made playoffs and a less than stellar run in PBA Season 3, I'm aiming to draft a team that will give us a good chance of making playoffs in CMM. The RNG was not in our favour when the draft order was decided. We got 9th pick overall, landing us in the middle of the draft order, which means it's going to be hard to build synergies. Our first pick was Gouging Fire. It's been getting a lot of limelight recently in other Wi-Fi leagues, and I can't pass up the opportunity to give it a try. There's great stats across the board with 105 HP, 115 attack and 121 defense. Its 91 base speed isn't the best, but it's decent enough and can easily be boosted with Boost Energy, Dragon Dance or Scale Shot. Gouging Fire is an insane setup sweeper and can either break teams down or secure the endgame at +1. Its Fire Dragon typing means it doesn't have to worry about taking super effective hits from fairy types and gives it stab moves to hit steals types that dragons can often find difficult to deal with. With this great defensive stats, it can play a great support role or use that natural bulk to find easy ways to set up. It has access to high power moves in Flare Blitz, Outrage and Earthquake, but can also use Burning Bulwark, Psychic Fangs or Morning Sun to increase its utility. Our second pick was Petrant. I'll admit this pick was very early, but I wanted a good fairy switch in early to complement some of my later picks. Petrant has a great dual typing in Poison Ghost and a monstrous base 160 defense stat. Malignant Chain as its unique move that has a 50% chance to badly poison the opposing Pokemon, and Poison Puppeteer as its unique ability that will also confuse any Monic poisons. It suffers from a shallow move pool and unfortunately doesn't get many coverage options, but can be a great wall breaker with Nasty Plot, or a great defensive pivot with its access to utility moves such as Parting Shot, Recover and Destiny Bond. I didn't actually realise it doesn't have access to Toxic Spikes before drafting it, but here we are. So far, Rock and Ground types have a good matchup against the team. To give us an offensive answer to those types, we drafted Quaquaval. Its dual typing of Water, Fighting, and access to Close Combat, Wave Crash, or Aqua Step, which also boosts its speed by one stage, allow it to hit those ground and rock types with super effective damage. It gets coverage for its main grass and flying switch-ins with Brave Bird or Acrobatics, an Ice Spinner or Triple Axle. It's another great wall breaker or setup sweeper with its access to Sword Stance or Bulk Up and its Moxie ability. Quaquaval can gain momentum for the team with U-turn or flip turn and can support the team well with utility moves like Taunt, Encore and Rapid Spin. I regretted the timing of this next pick as it meant the fairy types I wanted had all gone by the time it came back round to us. I also intended to pick up Kilowattrel a little later, but picked up Zapdos because it was just there. Zapdos is a good all-round mon that can perform a variety of roles. It mostly enjoys performing the pivot role as it gets access to both Volt Switch and U-turn for the ground types that want to switch into its stab electric moves. The only hazards it needs to worry about switching into are Stealth Rocks, as it's immune to Spikes, Sticky Web and Toxic Spikes, thanks to it being a flying type, but Rocks can be dealt with by heavy duty boots. Physical attackers need to be careful when attacking Zapdos thanks to its static ability, which may pressure my opponents into running protective pads instead of damage boosting items. Our next pick and first Terra Captain is Diancie, the only fairy left on the board at this stage that I don't mind using. Shout out to Gravy for pointing this out at the time. Diancie has great defensive stats and good offensive stats, meaning it can usually take hits and deal decent damage back. It works great on my team as well, as so far we have drafted 3 steel type resists. I originally gave Diancie Terra typings, a fairy, water and grass to give it both offensive and defensive options, but have since changed the grass type to fighting type to give it stab on those iron defense body press sets. Diancie gets access to Spikes and Stealth Rock, so it can set up 2 kinds of hazards to help support the wall breakers and setup sweepers on the team. It can also be a setup sweeper itself with access to Calm Mind, Rock Polish, or Trick Room. For the next picks, we originally had Landorus Incarnate, Rotom Wash, Regice, and Jirachi, but changed them in the 24-hour grace period after the draft finished to King Gambit, Mamoswine, Serena, and Meloetta. King Gambit gives us a Dark type and completes our Fairy, Dragon, Steel Core. King Gambit is another mon on our team that does bulky offense very well and has access to 2 great abilities in Defiant and Supreme Overlord to help it clean up a game with Sucker Punch. King Gambit is a very slow Pokemon, so will mostly be taking a hit and dishing out big damage in return. Its HP and defensive stats allow it to do this well. If used correctly, it can set up Sword Stance and just win the game. It also has good utility moves such as Thunder Wave to slow down the faster threats it struggles with, Taunt and Stealth Rock to support the team. Mamoswine is another good wall breaker with its Ice Ground dual typing, giving it stab access to 2 of the most powerful offensive types in the game. Mamoswine is here to wear the opposition down for the rest of the team to clean up. It can use Icicle Crash to get big damage off, or use Icicle Spear to break a Focus Sash or Dragonite's multi-scale and still get the KO. It can Trailblaze to help with its poor speed stat, or use Knockoff to strip the opposing mon of its item. Mamoswine can use Priority with Ice Shard to chip away at faster mons, or can reliably run a Choice Scarf to help out with speed. Next up, Serena completes our Fire, Water, Grass core and gives us a second way to remove hazards with Rapid Spin. It's another great bulky pivot with access to U-turn and can support the team with its other utility moves such as Taunt, Knock Off and Dual Screens. It also gets high power coverage moves with Power Whip, Triple Axle and High Jump Kick. Serena might not be here to take over the game, but it'll certainly help bring in the more offensive mons on the team and give them their opportunity to shine. Finally, we have Meloetta, our other Terra captain. For our Terra types, we have Normal, Psychic and Fairy to give our stab moves even more bang for their buck. Meloetta has great special attack and special defense stats and good stab moves in Hyper Voice or Psychic and Psyshock to be our special wall breaker. He can set up with Calm Mind or be a nuisance to the opposing team with Knock Off, Trick or Thunder Wave, and can pivot out into our other threats with U-turn. As with the rest of our team this season, Meloetta doesn't have a great speed stat, but can fix that problem by using Relic Song to transform into his pirouette form with 128 speed stat. So that's it, that's the team for CMM Season 5. Our overall speed is a noticeable problem, with a lot of wall breakers but no fast revenge killer to mop up the leftovers. I'm planning to give the team a few battles and see how the speed feels before deciding if we need to make changes to fix the glaring problem. I hope you can support us in what will hopefully be a more successful season than our last league. Battles will be uploaded every Saturday. The Week 1 battle will be uploaded on Saturday, 1st of February. You can see how the Welsheons fared then. Hopefully we've got all the bad prep and throwing out of our system. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.